Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something real quick. There comes a time in your life when staying quiet becomes the loudest mistake you can make. Now, I ain't saying you gotta shout from the rooftops every 5 minutes, but some of y'all been silent about your dreams, your pain, your ideas, and your purpose for far too long. You sitting there with $1 million idea locked up in a 5-cent mindset because you're afraid of what folks gonna say. Boy, let me tell you, people gonna talk whether you're winning or losing, so you might as well give them something worth talking about. You got dreams? Break that silence. You tired of being disrespected? Break that silence. You know you were made for more than just surviving. Say something. Stand up. Stand up. Yo, break that silence because closed mouths don't get fed and quiet hearts don't get healed. Some of y'all been through some storms that would have sunk other folks, but you're still here, not by accident, but by design. And yet you walk around hiding your light like it's a liability instead of your legacy. Stop shrinking to make other people comfortable. Let me say this. The moment you speak your truth, when you finally break that silence, that's the moment your life starts shifting. That's when God, the universe, whatever you believe in, starts moving in your favor. That's when the doors you thought were locked tight start cracking open, just wide enough for your courage to slip through. Now, I know it's scary. No, speaking up means you might fail, you might get laughed at, you might lose some people. But baby, let them go. If your silence is the only reason they stuck around, they weren't meant for the next chapter anyway. See, your voice ain't just sound. It's power, it's feeling, it's change. And the moment you stop silencing yourself, you start writing the life you were meant to live. So don't whisper your worth. Don't whisper your pain. Don't whisper your dream. Shout it. Live it. Break the silence because the life you want is waiting on the other side. Thank you. Silence, though often associated with peace and wisdom, can sometimes become the heaviest chain holding a person back. There are moments in life when silence doesn't serve growth, it stunts it. When you choose to stay silent about your ideas, your ambitions, your values, or your pain, you risk more than just missed opportunities. You risk never becoming who you're truly meant to be. People remain silent for many reasons. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of rejection. These fears whisper, what if they laugh? What if it doesn't work? What if I'm not good enough? And instead of pushing forward, many choose to retreat inward, keeping their best thoughts, dreams, and solutions locked away. But what they don't realize is that silence in these moments isn't harmless. It becomes a form of self-sabotage. It's like having the winning lottery ticket and refusing to cash it in because you're scared the clerk might laugh at you. Think about how many times you've had a brilliant idea but didn't share it. Maybe in a meeting at work, in a classroom, or even during a casual conversation. You felt it bubbling inside you, that urge to speak, but something held you back. Then someone else voiced something similar and got all the credit. That wasn't just a missed moment, it was a loss of momentum for your growth, your confidence, and your trajectory. Some people silence themselves to fit in. They're scared their uniqueness will make others uncomfortable, so they dull their shine, hide their talents, and wear masks. But living behind a mask will only lead to a life that never feels quite right. Silence becomes a slow erasure of who you truly are. And over time, it doesn't just hold back your voice, it dims your spirit. Silence about your pain can be just as damaging. Holding in your struggles doesn't make you strong. It builds pressure until you explode in ways you never intended. You tell yourself you're handling it, that others have it worse, but your silence becomes a wound that never heals. And that wound starts to affect how you see the world, how you treat others, and how you believe in yourself. Speaking up, whether through words, writing, or creative expression, is not weakness. It's the beginning of release, of clarity, and of healing. Even in the pursuit of goals, silence can kill progress. If you don't speak your dreams out loud, at least to yourself, you leave them floating in the abstract. The moment you name them, you start giving them shape. You start aligning your actions, your habits, and your energy around something concrete. Silence, in this sense, is like sitting in a car with the engine running but never putting it in gear. You're alive, you've got potential, but you're not going anywhere. Many people don't realize that their silence is a decision, it's a choice. And choices stack up. Day after day, moment after moment, silence becomes the builder of regret. It doesn't seem like much at first, but over time, the weight of what was never said, never done, and never tried becomes unbearable. You look back and wonder how life passed you by, but it didn't. It waited on you. It waited for you to speak, to act, to move. One of the greatest mental traps that keeps people from living fully is the fear of being talked about. The idea that others might judge, criticize, or ridicule becomes a barrier stronger than any physical obstacle. But the truth is, people are going to talk no matter what you do. You could play it safe your whole life, walk the straight line, never ruffle a single feather, and still someone, somewhere will have something to say. That's just human nature. People form opinions based on what they see, what they think they know, and sometimes what they wish they were brave enough to do themselves. You have to realize that being talked about isn't the issue. It's the weight you give to those voices that causes the problem. If someone else's opinion has the power to stop you from chasing what's meant for you, then you've handed them the pen to write your story. Most of the people whose opinions you're so afraid of aren't even doing half of what you're capable of. They're not out there building dreams, taking risks, or growing through failure. And yet, their opinions echo in your mind louder than your own belief in yourself. People talk when you succeed. They say it must be nice or they just got lucky. People talk when you fail. I knew that wouldn't work, or why did they even try that? So if success gets you judged and failure gets you judged, you might as well do what sets your soul on fire. No matter what lane you choose, someone will have something to say about it. That's just part of the process. And truthfully, the more noise you hear, the more you know you're on the right track. Because nobody throws stones at what isn't shining. Sometimes the fear of judgment comes from childhood or past experiences, where speaking up or standing out led to rejection or ridicule. That memory lingers, turning into a pattern of shrinking, staying small, and blending in. But you're not that child anymore. You have the power now to speak, to act, and to redefine the meaning of being seen. Judgment isn't something to be feared, it's something to be expected. And when you expect it, it loses its power to paralyze you. Social media has made this fear even louder. One post, one comment, one picture can become the topic of gossip or mockery. So people curate their lives, only showing the safest parts, only saying what they think will be accepted. But living for the approval of others is exhausting. It's a race with no finish line. Because even when you think you've done everything right, someone will still find fault. If your peace depends on the silence of others, you'll never be at peace. There's something liberating about finally saying, let them talk. When you truly understand that people's opinions don't define your worth, you start making decisions that honor who you are instead of who they think you should be. You begin to act boldly, speak freely, and live unapologetically. And the ironic thing is, the more you do that, the more respect you actually earn. Not from everyone, but from the ones who matter. People are wired to talk. They project their fears, their insecurities, their regrets onto others because it's easier than facing their own. If you let their words hold you back, you're essentially living out their limitations instead of your own potential. But if you accept that noise as part of the journey, you stop letting it guide your steps. You tune it out, not with defiance, but with focus. You stay grounded in your why, your vision, and your truth. There's a saying that's simple but powerful. Closed mouths don't get fed. It's a truth that applies not just to asking for food, but to every opportunity, every dream, every need in life. If you don't speak up, you don't get what you want. If you don't ask, the answer is always no. Life isn't built to hand you things in silence. You have to open your mouth, raise your hand, take a step, and claim what you need and deserve. Many people walk around hungry, not just for success, but for respect, for love, for opportunity, for healing. And yet they keep quiet. They wait for someone to notice, to offer, to guess what they need. But the world doesn't work on guesswork. Most of the time, people are too wrapped up in their own problems to notice your silent suffering or your quiet ambition. If you want something, you've got to open your mouth and go after it. Think about job interviews. You can have all the talent in the world, the perfect resume, the right qualifications, but if you don't speak with confidence, if you don't ask for what you're worth, you'll walk away undervalued or overlooked. That same principle applies in relationships. If you don't express your boundaries, your desires, or your concerns, you end up being misunderstood, mistreated, or unfulfilled. Silence might feel safe, but it rarely brings satisfaction. There's a kind of fear that creeps in when it's time to speak up. What if they say no? What if they left? What if they don't care? But those fears are illusions, keeping you small. The truth is, the risk of not speaking is far greater than the risk of rejection, because every time you stay silent, you reinforce the idea that your needs don't matter. Lou, start to internalize that belief, and it chips away at your confidence, your worth, and your ability to go after what you want in the future. Children understand this concept better than adults sometimes. A child will ask for candy 10 times in 5 minutes. They don't care about pride or timing or rejection. They know what they want, and they go after it. Somewhere along the way, we lose that boldness. We get told to be quiet, to wait our turn, to not be too much, and those lessons stick. But unlearning that silence is part of the journey toward growth, because you can't live a full life with a muted voice. People often say, oh, well, I don't want to seem needy, or I shouldn't have to ask. But in reality, asking is not weakness. Asking is clarity. Asking is clarity. It means you understand what you need and you're brave enough to declare it. No one gets to the top by staying quiet. Leaders, innovators, game changers, they all speak. They ask for opportunities. They request support. They negotiate. They challenge. They understand that closed mouths don't get fed, and they refuse to starve while playing polite. Even in moments of vulnerability, speaking up is vital. If you're struggling with something, mental health, financial pressure, emotional pain, staying silent doesn't make it disappear. It makes it heavier. That one decision, to speak your truth, to express what you kept hidden, to finally say what's been building inside, is the moment everything starts to change. It doesn't have to be loud, polished, or perfect. It just has to be real. Because silence may feel safe, but it's also where dreams go to die, where pain festers, and where potential stays buried. The moment you decide to speak, to show up for yourself, is the moment you tell the world and yourself that you are no longer willing to be a prisoner of fear, doubt, or approval. People often wait for the perfect time to speak. They wait until they feel fully ready, until they're sure no one will judge them, until everything lines up. But that time rarely comes. Life doesn't pause while you wait. It keeps moving, and if you don't speak, it moves right past. There's a shift that happens when you use your voice with intention. You stop waiting for life to hand you something and start creating the life you want. That shift isn't always visible right away. It might begin quietly with a change in posture, a new kind of conversation, or a decision to stop saying yes when you mean no. But over time, that one act of speaking becomes the seed of a whole new reality. When you break your silence, you begin to reclaim ownership of your story. Maybe for years you've let other people define you, shape your narrative, or tell you who you are and what you can or cannot do. But the moment you speak your own truth, you start rewriting that narrative. You take the pen back. And in doing so, you change the direction of your life. It's not about shouting over others or demanding attention. It's about alignment, about stepping into your own rhythm and no longer shrinking to fit someone else's expectations. That one moment of expression can also attract the right people into your life. People who resonate with your authenticity, your passion, and your courage. You create room for real connections, ones that aren't built on pretense or performance. But this only happens once you stop hiding. As long as you keep your voice locked away, the world can't respond to the real you. You keep attracting situations, relationships, and opportunities that match the version of yourself you've been presented, not the one you truly are. Breaking your silence also opens doors to healing. Some wounds stay unhealed simply because they were never given a voice. Pain that's not spoken becomes pain that owns you. But when you speak it, name it, and face it, you begin to take its power away. You shift from being a victim of your story to the narrator of it. And that shift, though internal at first, affects every area of your life, from how you carry yourself to how you pursue your goals. When you choose to speak, you also send a signal to the universe. You show that you're ready, not perfect, but ready to step into the life you were meant to live. You invite challenges, yes, but also opportunities. You become magnetic to change. It doesn't mean it will all be smooth. Some people may not like this new version of you. Some may walk away. Some may criticize, but your voice is not for them, it's for you. It's for the ones who need your example. It's for the life you were born to live. Every breakthrough starts with a voice, yours. Not the one shaped by fear, but the one buried underneath it, waiting to rise. The one that's been watching quietly while you kept the peace, stayed in your lane, and held back. The shift begins when you stop asking for permission and start giving yourself the freedom to be seen, to be heard, and to be felt. That freedom creates motion, and that motion creates momentum. So speak even if your voice trembles. Speak even if no one claps at first. Speak even if you're still figuring it out, because the silence you break today will define the life you live tomorrow. Not just for you, but for every person who needed to see someone rise so they could believe they can too. Your voice is not just a sound, it's a signal that you're no longer hiding, no longer shrinking, no longer waiting. You're here, you're ready, and your life will never be the same again.